So, right now I'm driving the family daily, which is a Jeep. So if you see these things right here, you can tell that's a defrost event, and you might be able to guess what that is. That's what they do. They're into that shit. So it is what it is. I mean, So, but anyway, I thought I did this video, but I definitely did make this video talking about this, but it was never uploaded before I erased everything off the phone. And unfortunately, because the thumbnail in the photo album or whatever looks like this, it's just like, okay, what, done? And there's a lot of videos that look like this, because even now this isn't like the first take that I've tried this particular video today. Something happened when I'm driving, it's like, oh shit, that kind of like threw me off. I don't remember where I was at. So anyway, we're gonna get down into it. The trip from October of 2023, that was the second time that I went to Japan. The first time being in 2019, and I did 2 weeks, and that was pretty much all in Tokyo. And the idea was to come back in 2022. I was going to go to China for a little bit, and then also go to Kyoto and Osaka. But, things happened, and nobody got to go anywhere. So, that sucked. But then, in 2021, I got a case of COVID that was real bad. It had me closer to getting taken out than I fucking thought. By the time I did go to the hospital, just because I didn't have like the same symptoms that everybody was talking about as the ones that, like, oh man, if you got this and this and this, you should probably want to get checked out for COVID. I had other stuff that was weird, but by the time I wanted to go get checked out, not great. But anyway, but when that happened, I'm like, fuck, when I go to Japan, I need a month at least. So, they opened up in 2022, October, to October the 11th, actually. I do remember this because I made a video talking about that month, because for once, in a single month, there were like 5 different things that actually had importance to me. In October 2022, I can remember off the top of my head, first off, a game came out for the Switch. Bayonetta 3 came out for the Switch, which was the first game for that system I bought in a year after Metroid Dread the previous year. Then, I had a vacation that was put in at the beginning of the year for the second half of October. Japan announced pretty much a couple weeks before they opened up that they were opening on October the 11th. And then, my birthday is also in October, so I talked about that, which is normally not important, but there was a potential for me to be in Japan on my birthday if I decided to go in 2022. And then what was the other thing? The RTX 4090 came out on October the 12th. Now, here's the thing. I did not go to Japan when they opened up in October 2022 for multiple reasons. Number one, the fall was very cold in 2022. I don't do cold weather. I don't fucking enjoy that shit. Like, I see in these like travel groups and shit, like Japan travel planning and all this other things on Facebook and Reddit and stuff. And there's people like, oh, it's snowing, I can't wait to go when it's cold in the winter. I'm like, man, I can't fucking enjoy that shit. I don't enjoy it here. I'm not gonna enjoy it there. I wouldn't even attempt to go. But the thing about October and September, the fall basically, is it's a wild card. You don't know if it's gonna be 30s and 40s in a given particular year, and you don't know if it's gonna be 60s, 70s, 80s. It can be either or, and it's always been the case, at least West, like the temperature kind of matches, Tokyo and Kansai area, which would be, where Kyoto and Osaka is. So it's kind of a match. Now, so it was too cold. That was the first issue with going at that time. And then the other issue was I wouldn't have been able to go for a month, because if we're not going to carry over too much time, it's like 500 and something hours that you can carry over to the next year without losing anything. But if you are not in risk of carrying over too much, you can't get off for vacation in November and December. Now, that said, there are people that do risk that, and they do take off in those months. I'm just not one of them. But it is a pretty, we do get a fair amount of vacation regardless. Because in last year, I was off 3 times. Japan, being off to go to Japan for a month was just one of my vacations of 3, and I still carried time over to this year. So, it's pretty good. It's just, the thing is to not be working for a fucking private company. At least for the most part. I don't know what kind of luck you need. Maybe like a startup. Your best friend got a startup and he wants you to like be his fucking COO or something. Then you can get, I'm not saying it like I'm doing that great, but within the private sector, you gotta be like you gotta be way higher than I am where I'm at to have as much vacation as I have. And like shit like that, basically. Because corporations just treat people like ass. You gotta fight so hard for so fucking little. Like, corporations think like fucking 1 week is great and 2 weeks is amazing. Fuck a bunch of all of that. But anyway, so because I wouldn't have been in risk to carry over the amount of time, the only thing I could have done, because I had the last 2 weeks of October, those were just already off. I didn't really plan on going anywhere, having any fun or anything on vacation. I was just like, you know what? When I build this computer, I can just like probably just fuck with it or whatever. So that was the only thing I was really gonna even possibly do. But I could have added a week. I could have added the week before that, which would have put me off around the 11th or whatever. But it still wouldn't have been enough, because it wouldn't have been a month since they weren't open at the very beginning of the month. And I had to wait until the 12th for the RTX 4090 to come out, because I had to go pick that up in store. You gotta get in line to see if you can get one, and all this other shit. And the thing is, if you miss that opportunity to get the top end graphics card, you're kind of fucked for a very long time, because if you don't get it on day one, you gotta wait for the sporadic possibility for that a store is gonna get one, in person, and then online. Man, you gotta fight bots and fucking pieces of shit, resellers and all this other shit. And so if you want one early and you can't get it in store, your choices are to wait for wait a few months, which sucks because you're spending top money on the top product, and it's only the top product for 2 years. So a couple months out of that time is kind of a lot, in my opinion. And the prices of these things they don't go down until the next ones are out. So like a 4090 is a $1,600 base graphics card. I got the ROG Strix version and the ROG Strix White. Well, I also had the Tough. But ROG Strix is $2,000. ROG Strix White, $2,100 base price for that version of the 4090. If I'm spending that kind of money, today it's April 2024. I'm not gonna buy a fucking Strix 4090 today, knowing that the 5090 is gonna be out later this year. Fuck that. That's stupid. But the price isn't gonna be any lower until the 5090 is out. Maybe if the 5090 just costs like $2,500, then the 4090 is still not gonna cost any less than it already does. So, but anyway, that's kind of getting into another topic. So, anyway, a number of reasons, and then also another reason not to go in 2022 for me was because I'm sure that if you went to Japan immediately when tourism opened back up, you got reamed for everything that they could ream you for. Those people hadn't been making money in fucking 3+ years. I'm sure they were ready to fucking ream you, and the people that were going immediately were ready to get reamed and didn't care. I'm going, I'm gone. I'm in Japan finally for the first time after 3 years of not being able to go. I'm taking it up the ass. I don't care. I'm not about that. So, but in October, 2023, I'm like, you know what, I gotta go. So initially I was trying to go in September, but I kept Google Maps or Google Flights up just way too fucking long. The prices went up. There wasn't any little tricks that I could try to have the prices go down. Even had other people look, because I'm sure, like Google Maps or Google Flight or whatever, it's like, oh well, this guy is talking to this guy about these trips. We can't let them see different prices. So if he pulls it up, it's gonna be the same thing. Yeah, of course that shit happens. We're not even in fucking tinfoil hat levels anymore. We just know this shit happens. You talk about a certain product, first thing you see is an ad for that fucking product. So it's not even hidden anymore. It's just is what it is. I'm like, oh, Japan's an amazing place. It's like, hey, travel to Japan today. I wonder where they got that idea. Oh, you know what? Some fucking Calypso lemonade sounds like a good fucking thing. You know what's refreshing? Calypso lemonade. So yeah. But anyway, yep. Didn't like the prices, so I went ahead and put the search out for October, and then prices were good again. So I'm like, you know what? I got to book, because they started also talking about new strains of fucking COVID and all sorts of bullshit, and I'm like, look, I do not need for somebody to take away my ability to fucking go back to Japan. So I'm booking this month right fucking now before bullshit happens. So I had to take the chance that it was going to be possibly cold and shit, which luckily it wasn't. It was 75 at the beginning of the month when I got there, and 65 at the end of it. So fucking amazing temperatures. So the only thing that was booked for me personally on this trip to begin with was the first place that I stayed in Tokyo, as well as renting the Skyline GTR from Omoshiro, the purple or blue R33. So when you're renting cars from Omoshiro, when you're renting like the popular ones, which would definitely be the Skylines, you have to book those well in advance. And their booking system is something that you've got to be mindful of as well, because you book for hours at a time. Now, if you want 24 hours, you obviously just select a block's worth, 24 hours worth of blocks. But people can book for less than that. So if you want the car on a fucking Tuesday, somebody might have the car from like 1 to 3 on Tuesday. So you can't fucking actually get the car for that whole fucking time. So you need to do it as far out in advance so you can try to get a whole day with the car as possible. Now, a less common car or a less popular car, you'd easily be able to get without a problem, more than likely. So when I chose, the next car to get, I was trying to get other Skylines. I'm like, man, I need to do an R34 GTR. Could not get an R34 GTR. And I'm like, R34 GTT? Could not get an R34 GTT. Then R32 GTR. Could not get R32 GTR. But there were other cars that were easy to fucking book, such as the S660 that I did get. And I got that because it's something that we don't get here in the States, and I always thought it looked fucking great. And it was an amazing car. I mean, there's videos of me driving that car over there that I took back at the time. Amazing car. I wish I could fucking buy one today. I would if I could. And even driving those cars also changed my mind about them. Like R33, I think it's overrated for what it is. All those Skylines are overrated for what it is. What you're paying for what you're getting. But there is still something about that whole shit. I'm like looking at this thing like, you know what? I mean, of course, I've loved the way this shit looked since the 90s when it was new. You see it in the fucking games. You're like, man, it looks good. And then you see like more media that's featured the car, and then hell, in the early 2000s before they were legal, there's at least like this black guy that had one, R33 GTR, back in like 2004. He was like an African dude, like an African dude. And that shit looked amazing in real life back then. And then there was a shop that had one. I got to like sit in it, start it up, and that was like in 2005. So, but that was well before, you could even think about really buying them the normal way after the 25-year law and all that bullshit. And now, they're like, well, it's 55 grand for a car that didn't even cost that much when it was new. Like, kind of takes you out of that. But, whatever. The experience of driving it around was like pretty amazing, but it could just be because I was over there in Japan and people were like having like massive reactions to that fucking car, and it was stock. I'm like, can I take pictures of that? I'm like, yeah. Be my guest. It was like by far the oldest thing that I would see. I see some other like tuner cars that was like fucking older and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was the oldest thing that I would be seeing at any given time, which was also interesting. But anyway, back to the stuff. I can get off track with cars easily. So, like I said, renting that car in the first place was the only thing that was planned, because I didn't know. I knew I was going to go to Kyoto and Osaka. Hiroshima was up in the air. So the way I did this was, I booked a week in Tokyo to begin. So I arrived, on that first day at like 8 in the morning. It was supposed to be 5 a.m. arrival, but we left JFK pretty late. No, man, this light is fucking crazy long. But we left JFK like 3 hours late. Plane needed refueling and some shit. And to me, that's fine. That's actually good, because arriving at 5 would have been just extremely early. I would have had to just stay around the airport even longer than I did. I still decided to stay around the airport for a little bit, for a couple hours before I left. Got on the train, went to the Tateishi Keisei station. My place was in Katsushika, Tateishi, and you know that's not really how you pronounce those things, but I'm saying it in a way that, like, if you want to look it up while I'm talking, it's easier to do that if you're not a person that's like that speaks like Japanese and stuff, because, you know, I mean, a lot of words are not pronounced the way that they look when they're in Romaji. And when you start speaking to people, even when you can speak Japanese, sometimes a word that you actually know, that can throw you off as well when you're hearing it being spoken, because I don't know, it's something about it. Like, let's say, like the word Minami. When somebody just uses it in a sentence, Minami, look, Minami, what? Oh, Minami. Oh, Minami. Then, like, you know, even in my brain when I get it, I still like Minami. Minami is what they said. You know, so it's just like a thing like that. I like to avoid that stuff. It's like saying, like, you know, Asakusa. Or I could just say Asakusa, and if I say Asakusa, you know exactly how to spell that, just because Asakusa, right? But Asakusa, can you really spell that if you don't already know exactly what that is? This light is still red. Jesus Christ, this thing's been red for like 5 minutes. But it's like 3 something in the morning, so it really doesn't matter. I'm not here wasting time doing this video. But anyway, made it to the room that afternoon, because I got there like right at check-in. I didn't want to get there before check-in because, you know, I got my luggage and, you know, my carry-ons and anything else. I just have it all with me on the train. And, you know, that's another thing. Like, you know, I decided not to have a rental car to begin the trip, just because, you know, I know from the previous time that, you know, there was like a day or two that I did not have a rental car after when I took the Evo back. You know, I actually learned a lesson of what not to do that time. So, you know, that first time, you know, I had my regular rental car that I had since, you know, when I got to the airport, I had that car. Then what I did was I rented it until the day of the Evo 6. I took it back, got the Evo 6, and then I was supposed to get the Skyline GTR that time, the R34, the white one that Lewis Hamilton drove, and they were mad that he made videos of himself doing burnouts in it, or donuts. That same white R34 with the gold BBSs, I was supposed to get that, but somehow the site would not let it fucking go through or whatever. So when I took the Evo back, I did not have a rental. So, you know, I had to get on a train and just go back to Tokyo. Didn't have a car for that night. And then I rented a car the next day back at the same, you know, back at the Haneda Nissan rent-a-car place. So I didn't have a car that day, and you know, I had to take the train and all that stuff. But personally, you know, there's a lot of people that get mad when people talk about driving in Japan, like as on vacation, like in those like the Facebook groups and the Reddit subreddits and stuff. Why would somebody even want to drive in Japan? The trains are so perfect and all this other stuff. But at the same time, those people are willing to spend hundreds of dollars to have their luggage forwarded to, you know, the hotel, because, you know, they're getting there at a time where, you know, it might not be possible to take the stuff, you know, to check in anytime soon. which is understandable, or they just have a lot of stuff that going on a train might not be, ideal. I think I had just a smidge too much stuff to make the train ideal for me. But I mean, it was still fine. It wasn't great, it was fine. But people spend hundreds of bucks doing that when they could rent a car for that. They could just rent a car for that first 24 hours and not have any of those problems when they get in. And it would cost less because they're paying hundreds of USD to use one of those forwarding services. And then you still have to transport yourself, which some of those people will be like, well, when I get in from, this long flight, I really don't want to take a train and, do all that stuff. So I'm going to, take a taxi, which that's going to cost you 100 USD or nearly 100 USD. If you're coming from Haneda, it's going to cost you more if you're coming from Narita. So, yeah. Am I too far up? Is that why this isn't triggering? I know there's like a thing. Let's move back a little bit. See if this light gets triggered, because you've been hearing this clicking this whole time. That's this fucking light here. This is crazy. Like I said, particularly at this time, I don't mind, but it's whatever. But anyway, though, people are so against driving that they will literally fuck themselves when it comes to getting settled in. Like, you could literally rent a car, for 50 fucking bucks a day, or you got enough luggage and all this other shit, you get a car that costs 70 bucks a day. You can get that car for one fucking day. When you get there, have all your shit, get it to the hotel, and you turn the car in the next day. And like, you'll also just get to enjoy having the car for that one day. Yeah, you'll have to pay some parking and put some gas in the fucking car when you return it. But having that car for one day is a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient than having a luggage forwarded, and then you also still have to go separately and all that shit. But that's people being NPCs. It's like, well, Japan's public transportation is so great, I just can't imagine why anybody would want to drive anywhere in Japan. It's so crowded, and they drive on the other side of the road. I'm an NPC. But anyway, that first day I went ahead, I took the train, got to my place, went to sleep for a little bit in the afternoon, and then I went out to Asakusa. When I woke up at night, FaceTime my dude, showed him around. I'm like, yeah, this is how it is. I'm back, finally. And then, I ate my first McDonald's in like 4 years at that point, which was at Asakusa Rocks. McDonald's Asakusa Rocks, ROX. And that, that's the thing. Like, I made a video when I was in Japan the previous time, back in 2019, after I left the McDonald's, because, I had such good experiences at McDonald's. Like, in America, you just expect McDonald's to be shitty, and it is shitty. It's just always a bad time, period, regardless, and you just should expect that. And people, like, if somebody, if you complain about it, anybody complains about McDonald's. Well, it's just McDonald's, man. But no, they want so-and-so amount of money and all this other stuff. They need to do the fucking job right. But anyway, they do that job like it's a serious fucking job in Japan. Burgers, the burgers aren't like all flat and smushed. You don't get like the cold ass fries and shit like that. Because I made a video. It was in Asakusa. It was not at the Asakusa Rocks. But it was a McDonald's. I stopped in there. It was like 1:30 at night. It was whatever McDonald's is probably the closest to the Don Quixote that's over there. I stopped there at 1:30 in the morning. I just ordered, my same shit I always ordered, my double burger, double cheeseburger, plain meal with fries and whatever. And she had literally a full vat of fries sitting there. She threw that shit away and made fresh fries. And over here you gotta like fucking play with them. And I need salt. Fries without salt. Like, that's the only way to even get them to make it fresh. But there, I'm like, all of my McDonald's had been like pretty much so good that I'm like, I'm sure if she would have given me those fries would have been fucking fine, especially compared to what I would get over here. So, I'm like, all right. That was amazing that she did that. But I mean, I always had like great experiences at McDonald's there, and even better ones here, or better ones at this second time around. But it was the first. Having at McDonald's was the first McDonald's I had in 4 years. So I said I wasn't gonna like eat fast food when I got back. I sure fucking didn't. Well, with the exception of Chick-fil-A, that's the only place. Initially, I would eat Chipotle. Like, Chipotle was still good. I'm like, Chick-fil-A and only Chipotle, that's it. But when the pandemic happened, Chipotle went to online only. And, they were known for skimping food for people that order online, since, they're not watching them make it. So when they went to online, I stopped fucking going there, and I haven't been back since. Even though, they're back to normal, I still hear people just complain about like the proportions. So I'm just like, I've been without Chipotle for so long, I'm not missing anything by going back, except for possibly being fucking upset about the lack of food, or the lack of portion size compared to what it used to be, and so on and so forth. So good. All right, I backed up a little more, and now the light changed. So that's what I needed to do. I needed to back up like fucking 7 minutes ago, and I would have been gone. So anyway, yep, I went out to Taito after Asakusa, and Taito's where I stayed the first time. And then I ended up catching a cab back because it was late. Trains, the metro trains, they also stop, which is another reason why I think having a car makes sense when you go to Japan. Everybody that depends on the trains, they take a break. They break from like 11 to 5 or something like that. So you have to worry about where you're staying at. Is the station, how close is the fucking metro station, what is around the place that you're staying, because you're gonna be stuck there at night, and all this other stuff. So is there food, like what kind of food, and what if there entertainment, and all this other stuff. And like, you just drive, it doesn't even fucking matter. It's like, come back when I want to, because I'm driving like an adult does. But I mean, whatever. You don't want to make it easier on yourself. It's fine. So, yep, that was that. And then the second day, man, what did I even do? The second day, I don't remember particularly what I did the second day. I'm pretty sure I may have went to Akiba. No. Yeah, the second day I went to the arcade. I went to Mikado Arcade, and that's in, was it Takadano Baba? Now that word is just like a fucked up word, so I'm not saying that any differently than I would say it. As I just say I would say American. I would say words with an American thing, but that's just a word. That's how I would always say that word, regardless. Takadano Baba. That's just a fucking weird word, but that's where it's at. So, I played some Street Fighter games, basically. Had a win streak in Third Strike. I fucking hate Third Strike. I find it a very boring game to play. you're into fighting games, I'm sorry, but I fucking hate that game. I bought that game when it came out on Dreamcast, and like nobody fucking played that game. It was like fucking 12 people that played that game in like tournaments and shit back then. Like fucking, like 5 Americans and like 7 Japanese people. Daigo and Justin being among them. And then they, Daigo and Justin had the Evo 37 moment or whatever the fuck. And then all of a sudden everybody cared about Third Strike. Oh, it's an amazing game because they did this. But, fuck that game. It was boring before they did that, and to me that didn't make it a better game. Some people, that hype brought them into that game, but, that's just not how I feel about it. I'm not gonna let, that game was out for 5 years before that shit happened. Home release was out for 4 years before it happened. I wasn't interested in that game then, I wasn't interested now. But that's what they were playing when I went to the arcade, so, and it's funny because somebody wrote, they graffitied on the wall across from the entrance of the arcade, play some Third Strike. I took a picture of it and actually posted that, no, I don't think I will. The Captain America meme. And, so, I actually said, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to play this. But when I get in there, there's just more people playing that than anything else. So, I played some Super Turbo, some Hyper Street Fighter, which is kind of, sort of Super Turbo. I also got to play a match, like a single match of XSF, which that surprised me the most, that I was able to play XSF in Japan. But, got to play it. But there was more Third Strike than anything else. I did get like a 10-win streak. It was funny because the way the Japanese cabs are set up, you're on the opposite side of the person, like facing the opposite side from somebody else. So you're not next to each other like you would be on an American cabinet or whatever. But, these dudes, they have to walk around and see like who the fuck this guy is that's getting this, that's got this win streak going. And they like walking around and shit and having to walk all the way around the cabs and shit. I mean, like, you really could stand up probably and like look over, but I guess it'd be more rude to do that. So they like walk around like, huh? Guy Gene? What? So that was an interesting thing. I did that. Left the arcade after a while. Then I went to like some other stations. I got off some other stations and walked around like Sugamo and I forgot where else, but definitely a couple stations. Walked around those neighborhoods, and then I went back home, or went back to the room, the apartment, or whatever. And the third night, I came out in the evening, went to Akiba the third night. So, I'm like, I'm not gonna like shop or anything, but I saw a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, at Trader, the store called Trader. So I saw this Mega Drive in like full box and everything else, and I'm like, man, I fucking want that, because I started collecting some retro stuff over the last couple of years, trying to get some of the shit before it gets like all expensive, because some retro stuff is expensive, not all of it. I'm just trying to get some of it before it gets expensive to the point where I just like, I don't want that. There's already some things that I'm like, I don't want, but those are already things that like I don't naturally want. Like the most expensive game that I actually want, that I don't have, isn't really that expensive. And I could have bought it already. Could have bought it in Japan. I wouldn't have bought it in Japan because it costs more there than you can get it on eBay for. But it would have been a Japanese Dracula X Nocturne in the Moonlight, which is Symphony of the Night for Saturn. I mean, I have a Black Label Symphony of the Night for PS1, which is the best fucking, you know, that's already the most expensive one to get. I already fucking have that. So, I mean, it's just a matter of when I decide to go on eBay and just fucking click buy on a Saturn version. But anyway, so I saw the Sega, and I keep wanting to say Master System, just because it's got two words to it, Mega Drive, Master System. So, you know, this Mega Drive with the complete box and everything, I'm like, man, I'm not going to buy it because since I don't have a car, I got to, like, carry this fucking thing around for the rest of the night. For the rest of the evening, you know, I can go get some food, go to the restaurant, I got to fucking have it there. Hopefully I don't, like, just leave it sitting next to where I'm sitting. You know, have it on the fucking train and all this other stuff. And, you know, if you're traveling from Akiba, you know, everybody knows, like, oh, man, you lost something in Japan. You probably get it back. You probably go to your police fucking station, Koban or whatever, and, you know, say, man, well, I lost this thing, and, you know, somebody probably will have turned it in. But, you know, I mean, a lot more tourism, a lot more tourists, and people from places that are not Japan are not going to be, you know, some people try to be on, like, their best behavior in Japan to try to, like, fit more in with how things are generally there. But, you know, there's still people that are going to be who they are regardless, and they're going to be shitbags. It's like, oh, some idiot bought a Sega thing or whatever. They probably don't even know what it is, and they're just like, I'm taking this. Yeah, I made an accent, a specific accent, but, you know, I'm just saying. Alright, maybe I'll just do an American accent. Hey, I'm taking that. I found it. Finders keepers. So, anyway, that's just what, you know. I don't want to have any of that stuff, so I just was not going to buy the fucking thing, period. I'm like, you know what, I'll just get it some other time. So, you know, I leave Akiba. I probably went around to some other spots as well. Had some nice walking and viewing of things, and the next day it was time for to get the GTR. So I went out there to Noda, took the train out there, of course, did the famous walk, which is funny because, you know, you can post a picture there's a bridge in Noda that you have to pass. You have to go across this specific bridge in Noda from Unga Station, and I just posted a picture from that bridge recently online, like, where is this? And somebody literally answered, that's a bridge in Noda. I know because I walked that bridge to go to Omoshiro Rent-A-Car. And I'm like, that's exactly right, and that's exactly why I posted that that's exactly the reason that I was there as well. So that's pretty fucking awesome. But, you know, I mean, it's funny because, I mean, I watched a video before I went in 2019. I watched a video of somebody renting a car from Omoshiro, and, you know, they had to do the same thing. Like, there's really only one way to get there. So, I mean, you leave Unga Station, walk down whatever street that is, and then, you know, you go across that bridge, and you got to do, like, everybody has to literally take the same trip. So, if you ever done that, you know exactly where it's at. But anyway, that was pretty interesting, I would say. But yeah, it was time to get that car, the Skyline GTR. So, you know, I got it. And, you know, I mean, I had the windows up and the AC was on and all that shit when I first, you know, got in the car. But when I got back to Katsushika, you know, I had the windows down and the AC off, so, like, I could just hear more of the car. And I'm like, man, the car was just making so many noises that I was just like, man, is this shit gonna fucking, like, just break? Like, I halfway wanted to fucking take it back, but it takes, you know, it takes like an hour to get to where I was at from Omoshiro. And I'm like, man, they're probably just gonna, like, consider it as part of my fucking time. Like, if I go back and get another car, and they're not gonna have like the other car that they have or whatever, it's not gonna be as good of a car. And I'm sure the only thing I could get is something that's probably way more expensive than even a GTR, like some kind of like supercar or something that they might have, or some, you know, more exotic type of car that's going to cost more, because I'm sure they're not going to like, oh, well, you're going to swap this GTR out for like some kind of fucking Honda or something. We'll give you the difference. Well, they're probably not going to do that. So I end up, after mulling it over, you know, getting back to the room, parking the car, mulling it over, I end up just keeping it. I'm like, you know what, whatever, fuck it, let's go. So, you know, I take it, I come back to Akiba, go back to Akihabara, and I actually go buy that fucking, I buy that Mega Drive. Like, yes, and I got an amazing picture that I took later on, or that I took when I got back. So, and I bought the Mega Drive, drove around a bit. Well, actually, like on the drive to Akiba, it was pretty interesting. As people were like having reactions and all that stuff, you know, about the GTR and all that stuff. I'm like getting thumbs up, like by Japanese people and shit like that as well, which is pretty amazing. I thought the reaction would be more subdued. Now, at Daikoku Fudo, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you know, I expect subdued reactions there, because I'm sure these same cars from Omoshiro pull up every fucking other day with a different person behind the fucking wheel. Like, that's, yeah, that rental car. Those rental cars. So, you know, that is what it is. It'd be more awesome to drive your own fucking car, honestly, but thoughts for later. So anyway, yep, I drove that around Akiba as well before I really parked. You know, like I said, a lot of reactions, a lot of people like taking pictures of the car. Even when I got out, people were like, man, can I take a picture of that? Yeah, be my guest. So, you know, kind of feels good, man. But yeah, there's actually a video, because I remembered this specific thing happening, but I didn't know that I even got it on video. And that's when the guy, you know, there's a guy with a European accent. It's like, hey, look, it's a skyline. Yeah, I guess he's talking to his buddy. Hey, look, the skyline over there, skyline. Look at that. And then, like, I was rewatching the video that I took while I was driving around, and like, that was actually caught on fucking camera, so I cut it into a short. It's on the channel. Look, skyline, look at that. But yeah, so I bought that Genesis, drove around, went back to the room a little bit, and then I waited some time. I should have just left. I should have just went right out to Daikoku, because, you know, I'm used to how it is in America. Like, the fucking meets are always, you know, I mean, there's like some specific meets that are like in the morning or whatever, like, you know, cars and coffees are in the morning, right? Cars and coffee meets in the morning, and everything else is like fucking at night. And something that, like, you do, when you do see Daikoku Fudo pictures, you know, it's funny because I've only seen night pictures of Daikoku Fudo, and it's like always, you know, tons of cars at night, which means like some cars when I went, but not like tons and tons and tons of cars. I mean, there's a lot of cars, but it's not like some of those pictures where it's just like fucking the whole thing's filled with cars. But, you know, I should have left before I did, but I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe going there like fucking, you know, real late at night is probably like the best thing. So, you know, I waited until maybe midnight or something like that, and then I went out there. I went out to, like, basically I wanted to drive on the Shudo as well. Driving the car on the Shudo Express, like the C1 loop and all that shit, was like the more important than going to Daikoku. But it's like, obviously, if I'm out there, that's what I'm gonna do. Cause I didn't even stop at Daikoku when I went to the when I had the Evo, which I in 2019, which I should have fucking did. But, you know, I drove on the Shudo for a while, and then I went ahead and went out there to Daikoku, which was amazing. And by the time when that was over with, I took another like some loops around or whatever the C1, and then I went to Shinjuku, parked the car, and that's when I met a Japanese girl. And then after meeting her, I met a Japanese man that did not like a Japanese girl being with a gaijin. And he said things that I knew he was saying that he did not think I knew that he was saying, and he was only trying to address the girl. And, I just simply told him that, hey, that's too bad that you feel that way. And then I told the girl to let's go. And that's as far as I was going to take it. Simply because I already know that if you have a situation against a Japanese in Japan, you are still the bad guy in that situation. That's just how it works in Japan, unfortunately. That's why, everybody thinks it's perfect, but it's not. But, I still got to, give that little jab to him, in his own language, no less, which, and, it hurt him even more knowing that the girl was with me. So, had a good time with the lady. That's some Bill Burr for you. Lady had had that amazing time, and then it was like fucking daylight by the time I got back to the room, and I'm like, fuck, I've been up like this whole night. I want to go to sleep before I gotta take this car back. I had to take the car back at like 1 o'clock or something like that, so it's like by the time I'm even back to the room and like settled and shit, it's probably like fucking close to 8. I'm like, man, if I go to sleep, I have a very, very good chance of like not waking up until it's fucking way past time to take this car back. But I gotta take my risk because I don't want to stay up the whole time. Like it's just impossible for me to stay up the whole time anyway. So I go to sleep, get back up in time. Just in time, I fucking take the car back, gas it up, station closest to the place, and we are good to go. And at this time, I have decided that I wanted to rent a car. So the night before, when I first took the Skyline back to the room and parked it, I had gone online and rented a car, the regular car or whatever. And I rented that for like, I think 2 days or something like that. But the rest of the time I was going to be in Tokyo because I didn't know, I knew I was going to leave after that week, but I didn't know how I was going to leave. Like, am I going to drive or am I going to just take a fucking plane, from like Haneda to fucking KIX or something, or Itami, whichever one. I think one of them, Kansai International, is the one if you're coming from out of the country, and Itami is the one for internal flights. I don't remember, but either way, I didn't know if I was gonna fly to Kansai or if I was gonna drive, so I only rented the car for 2 days. So after I returned the GTR, I got on the train and headed to Ikebukuro, Sunshine City, because the car was at Nissan. The Nissan rent-a-car station that's there, which is a K-van. So, you know, that was fine. And then I went back to the room, fucking had to catch up back on that sleep. And then I went out, dressed back up nicely, and then I went out to Roppongi, you know, to see if some more luck could be had. And when I was in Roppongi, some fucking some Africans. Come on, man, I got the girls, man, I got the girls. I'm like, do I look like I need to fucking pay for this shit, bro? And it's not, you know, and also, I already know what they're gonna do. Like, you drug people and fucking take all their money. Which, you know, personally, I don't drink anyway. So, getting into a situation like that I've heard about, you know, numerous times, it's just gonna be impossible for me to get into that situation because there's no tempting for me, like, to drink in the first place. Now, I don't have to drink, you know, I mean, of course, throughout my life, you know, I go to bars to, like, fucking meet chicks and stuff like that. And, you know, I can do that without drinking alcohol. So you are still in possible situations where you could be drugged because they can still put shit, they can put shit in water. They can put shit in fucking, you know, cherry Coke. And I'm sure it, you know, I'm sure it doesn't have any, like, taste or flavor or whatever. But I don't know. But anyway, you know, yeah, I had to avoid them every time, like, you know, I'm going into these little bars and stuff, you know, which is cool. But, you know, as soon as you leave the bars and if you walk down the street, you walk past these dudes, they're like right at it again. Come on, man, I saw you earlier, man. You must be getting with my girls. I'm like, not under the circumstances that you are trying to offer them, which means that you're offering them in the first place, which is not how I'm trying to get them. First off, and like I said, it's the end result is not like if I even thought about doing that. The end result is not me getting a girl. The end result is me being drugged and going to an ATM and giving you all my money, and then me waking up in a fucking alley somewhere without any fucking money for the rest of this trip. So, you know, that's not a good look. So anyway, I saw one specific girl. I was crossing the under the Roppongi Hill sign. There was this fucking girl. There was this one fucking girl, man. She was the baddest girl that I saw the whole fucking time. But, you know, we did like the fucking kind of, you cross and then like you look, but you don't fucking really do anything. I was like, man, I was thinking too much, man. Like, man, she was so bad. This is, you know, it's, man, I don't know, but I didn't really get anything going on. Spoke a couple of times, and you know, some girls were like, you know, it was all right. But really didn't get anything going on. But it also started raining and shit, so that made me leave because. And the other thing is, like, yes, I remember also another reason I fucking wanted to leave. I left earlier than I wanted to because of my belt. I could not find my belt. Now, and you know, with certain pants, like the you know, my regular shit that I was just wearing, like those, you know, those like athletic pants or whatever. I fucking brought a belt, but I couldn't find that son of a bitch. So after that time, I gave up on wearing that shit. And it also made me want to leave pretty fucking early as well. And it started raining that night, so all right, whatever. But I found the fucking belt as I was taking everything out. After I got back home, the fucking belt was in my luggage. I do not know how I could not find it, but I could not find that fucking shit. I was pissed. It was definitely there. But anyway, so yeah, that's that night. Just a night out. And then the next night, I don't remember what I did specifically the next night. I definitely don't remember. But I made my decision on what I wanted to do, and I decided to drive to Kyoto and Osaka, because I'm like, if I drive to one of these cities, if I drive to Kyoto, then like going to Osaka is just like 30-40 minutes away, and I got a car while I'm there. I don't I don't have to turn this car back in and go to the airport, then go to get to Kyoto or get to Osaka, actually, is where you'd be coming into. And then I still got to get another rental car anyway. And then, all that shit. And then I still got to fly wherever else I'm going, like fly to Hiroshima and then do the fucking car rental shit. I'm like, just get a fucking car. So I booked another car to end that week on. So that next day, I don't remember what I did, if anything. Some random stuff. And then after that, it was the day for me to leave Tokyo, the day I chose to leave Tokyo. So, that last day, I think I just chilled around or whatever. I just chilled and made my decisions about where I was going to go next. I looked up places on Airbnb in Kyoto. So, all right, let's go here. Let's make these decisions. Let's do all this stuff. And then the next day, I had to take the car back. So even though I chose to rent the same car the same type of car from the same place, I still had to take the car back and then wait for checkout of the next one. It ended up being the same make, model, and everything, but it was a different car. It had a different plate and also had different mileage. So, but I still had to wait on it, which I was like, that sucks. But they let me leave my luggage there since I was going to be putting it in the next car. So, it's kind of funny, though, because, I bring the car back, right? I turn the car in, and I'm like, I got another one coming up here. So, it's like, okay, yes, just, you'll just wait on it. You'll be able to pick it up in so-and-so time. I asked him, since I'm getting the same thing, I can't just keep this one, right? No. So they do that, and then, I go to that little shopping area around the station of Ikebukuro, and there ends up being a pizza, a buffet somewhere there. But I'm just looking around for somewhere to go for that time, and I'm thinking some food would be good. A decent amount of food would be good because I'm going to take this trip, and I want to get the trip. I want to get the trip done. I don't want to stop anywhere on this trip. If I need to get gas or whatever, that's what I'm going to do. So I go to this pizza place, get in on the buffet, and for Japanese pizza, Japanese is pretty good because when you search pizza in Japan, most of the places that are not chain places are going to be places that have that Neapolitan pizza, and to me, like, that just means no cheese, and it's burnt with no cheese. That's what Neapolitan means. Kind of like that Abitz. And if you don't know what Abitz is, it's spelled a pizza, like A-P-I-Z-Z-A. It's pronounced Abitz or Abitz. I don't know why, but it's a pizza is how it's spelled, but it's said Abitz. So whatever. But either way, it's burnt fucking pizza that's overcooked with very thin crust and like those crust bubbles that I fucking hate, and like hardly any fucking cheese. It's just like all sauce, and even then, like, not that much sauce, not that much toppings, and that's basically what Neapolitan fucking style pizza is as well. Just not enough shit on it, so it's kind of gross. This place had like regular pizza. I mean, they had like some, like some normal pizzas. They had multiple pizzas, like any pizza buffet. If you're going to a pizza buffet, you'll have like your staple pizzas. There'll be some cheese pizza, some pepperoni, some shit like, pepperoni and sausage or something like that. And then you'll have like some other fucking weird shit. And of course, Japan, they're going to have more other weird shit that I'm just going to ignore. I'm only going to like get like fucking pepperoni sausage type shit. So, I had that, and I was there pretty much until the time limit. I mean, they put a time limit on it. I think by whatever time you get there, it's like fucking 2 hours or something like that. So I pretty much stayed there for that time, because that's pretty much how long I had to wait until the next car was ready. So I finished that up, went to go get the car, loaded my stuff in, and it's kind of funny because the dude had just taken my shit, and then he's giving me like all these same instructions again about like where to go get the fuel and all this stuff. I'm like, you do know I just brought you a car back like 2 hours ago, right? Oh yes. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, I know all this stuff. Like, I wasn't rude about it. I'm just like, yeah, you mean like you don't have to worry about telling me this stuff, because I know. Oh man, this is a sad sight that I'm seeing right now. Passing where the Greyhound station used to be. I used to leave out of this Greyhound station almost once a year. Once a year as a kid, and then a couple times as an adult, all the way, and as an adult, even going from here to LA a couple times. Now there is a bus station. I could actually drive to where the bus station now is, the Greyhound, but it's in a completely different fucking area, completely different situation. It's a sad, Greyhound itself is a fucking sad shadow of what it used to be. But that's a story for another day. And I'm on the street that used to be the street racing street. I street raced on this very street many eons ago. 20 years ago. But anyway, so yeah, when I got the car, the Nissan Roots, it was time to go to Kyoto. And then Kyoto, 5-hour drive. It was supposed to take 6 hours, took me 5. That Rooks, being a K vehicle, was not ideal to drive that thing on the highway that long. I'm like having to peg this thing out to just keep up with everybody. It's kind of crazy. But a little less annoying to drive than my own cars. Like, none of my cars would be fun to drive on a long trip because they all suck for some reason. Even a quiet one like this right here is a JK that is lifted with big tires, and that just makes it very not compliant. lifted, shocks, tires, probably other stuff. I bought it with everything that was already done to it. Part of the reason I bought it because I didn't have to fucking do anything to it to make it look tough. But it rides hard. So now I assumed that a Jeep that had, like all the fucking suspension shit would actually ride softer than stock, like it just absorb all that stuff. But like this fucking shit, I mean, well, I guess I can just see the shocks and all that stuff. Like maybe I shouldn't be surprised that it rides as hard as a fucking car on coilovers. But it's not ideal for long drives. It fucking sucks. So it sucks. The Evo sucks when it runs because Evo's gearing is short as fuck, so it's just buzzing away at 80 miles an hour at like fucking goddamn 5,000 RPM, which sucks ass. And then it's also loud as fuck. And the Mustang doesn't even have an exhaust. It has long tube headers, catless long tube headers at that. So the whole time it's so it sucks to drive all these cars. The Nissan sucked a little less, even though I had to give it all the way. I had to take it all the way to the limiter all the time. It still sucked a little less, but I made it. Saw some interesting things on the way. Got to Kyoto. I left at like 4 something. Made it to Kyoto. Had to stop for gas once, and I fucking drove that thing all the way on fumes to that gas station. I'm like, man, I hope I don't run out of gas here. Like, so I don't even know who to fucking call if I run out of gas. Like, is that even a thing in Japan? Because of course in here, fucking AAA. Hey, I'm a member. Need some fuel. Let's go. But yeah, made it to that gas station. Then I made it to my room. Walked around the little neighborhood or whatever of the room. It was like 8 minutes away from Fushimi Inari. I didn't even know that, because I didn't go to Fushimi until the last day that I was in Kyoto, which was like the week. So I did a week there, and I think the first, so like the first night, so I just walked around, went to Konbini. That was like around the corner or whatever. And then I just went to sleep. Just caught back up on my sleep or whatever from the trip. Then I got up. Man, what did I do? I think like I tried to search for places that sold like car models and shit like that. That was the first thing I actually tried to look for, I think, in Kyoto. No, it wasn't. Arcades was the first thing I tried to look for. So, well, I'm in a new city. I want to see, I want to fight some new competition. Let's go. So, went to a few arcades, but they were not like arcades that had like competitive fighting games in them. But it's still interesting to see. It's always interesting to see more shit, period. So, I did that. Went around looking for that stuff, and then went out to, man, what's that place? It's that main shopping place. Now, it's what's crazy is I don't know what I searched to get there, but I wasn't looking for this place because I didn't even know that it was a thing. But there's the main shopping street in Kyoto. Which is funny because I've been playing, I was playing Rise of the Ronin. I just beat that today. I played 80 hours of that game. And, even though it takes place in the 1860s, a lot of stuff that's in that game is, still a thing in Japan at this time. You go to Yokohama, you go to Kyoto, and you go to Edo, which of course Edo is what Tokyo used to be called. So like some of the stuff is like the same places, because this place was in that game, in its like 1800s form. Man, I'm trying to think of what it was called, or what this place is called. It's like this main shopping street. Nintendo Kyoto is on this street as well. And that's not actually even why I ended up on this street. Like I said, I forgot what I was searching for that led me on this street. Oh man, what is it called? For some reason, I can't think of what it's called. But it's like it's like the busiest shopping street in Kyoto, I believe. Like I said, Nintendo Kyoto is on this street. There's a bridge, and then you also like the bridge that crossed that street was the fucking, at that time, that was like the most people that I'd ever seen, like in one spot. I was like, there's no way that I do not end up with fucking COVID, like after this trip, because there was just way too many people. But that was just crazy. But that view, there's like this riverfront view that you'll get when you're on this street that is just fucking amazing. A lot of people on the bridge taking pictures of that, but yeah, it was fucking amazing. So I did that, and I think throughout the days that I was there, I went to various other places trying to look for car models. I went to this place, I think it was called Universal Models. This little old lady running the place. She was nice. She even, she wraps the, because what I end up, I was trying to look for cars and stuff, but they end up having model planes and whatnot. And they had an ANA 777-300ER, which is the type of plane, the exact type of plane that I took from JFK to Haneda, the ANA 777-300ER. Unfortunately, the tail number of the model is not the same as the tail number that I took there or that I took back. Usually, when there are model planes made 777s that I took JA. So the ANA one's like JA 94. And JA 92. I mean, there's more numbers than that, but the main numbers, you know, is JA 94 and JA 92 are the ones that I took. Those are the basic numbers that will identify those planes. But anyway, like I said, I found a model at this place called Universal Models. You know, it's a nice little drive out. And like I said, the lady was nice. She wrapped the model and then also gave like some treats as well, just completely unrelated to the whole thing. But that was nice. I went out to some random places as well. Like, I mean, I was already out and whatnot, so I'm just like, let me just stop at this place. You know, some interesting looking place. So I just kind of like parked and walked around. You know, it's kind of crazy. You know, when you are an obvious gaijin and you're driving and you just like park your vehicle and you get out of your vehicle and you just like do normal stuff, like get out of your vehicle and lock it. Fucking Japanese people just look like, what the fuck? What am I seeing? I've never seen this. And they probably never have, but you know, I mean, damn, brothers. So, you know, that's, you know, their reactions to seeing gaijin driving is, like driving cars, is always kind of funny. Probably because it's a reaction period. Like, it's just something that we take for granted here in the States. I'm just getting in my fucking car and I'm just gonna go. And then there you just getting out in some little neighborhood or some little shopping area, and it's like, So yeah, that you know, that was a thing. And then I mean, yes, I mean, I was basically there for a week. I just kind of did random stuff. I was really looking for places that sold cars and shit, like a lot when I was there. And then like on the last night, I ended up going to Fushimi Inari. Like I thought about that place. I'm like, man, I want to go there, but it sounds like it's a pain in the ass to go there, honestly. But then I'm like, wait up, I got a car, so I don't have to go there like in the middle of the day when there's like fucking 20,000 people trying to fucking go there and do the same shit. So yeah, I did go to the there's a temple at the end of that shopping street and whatnot, and that temple is in that game. That shopping, like that street, man, I can't fucking remember what it is, but that main shopping street, there is a temple at the very end of that street, a huge ass temple. I did go through that. You know, people, I mean, you know, like people were decent and shit, like about moving out of the way. Like if you're trying to take pictures, I'm like, I do the same, you know, like if I see you trying to take pictures, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get out of the way, and you know, so people would do the same as well. So, you know, there's just mutual respect. So, you know, all right, this is fine. But for Fushimi, is a different story, because it's just, you know, way more people that you see when you see people taking pictures at Fushimi. So, you know, I went there at night, I think like the last night before I left. I just put in, you know, I was at the room, I'm like, all right, let me do this. And then I went to maps on the phone, Google Maps. Put it in, and it's like 8 minutes away. I'm like, fuck. But, I guess I should have known, because the city in the room, like the city of the room I stayed at was like, what was it, Fushimi-ku or something like that? So it was literally in Fushimi. But I don't know. Either way, I went there at midnight, and then I parked on the opposite side of the street. So, probably a scumbag move, but, I just parked on the opposite side of the street because I didn't see anybody, period. I'm like, man, no cop's probably going to come or whatever, so instead of parking in that parking lot, which, I would have been the only person in the parking lot anyway, so I was like, let's just go over there and fucking do this. So I parked across the street, went through Fushimi Inari. Hardly anybody there. Amazing time, got amazing pictures, amazing video. Unfortunately, ran out of juice in the real camera. I had a real camera and and of course, an iPhone. It's the newest one at the time, which is 14 Pro Max. So, pretty good camera, but just not as good as having a real camera like I had, with variable or, different lenses and all this other shit. But, see, it ran out of juice, unfortunately. But, still got good stuff with both. So that was, that was it with, the last full day that I decided to be there. Then, I went ahead and looked at places. I'm like, all right, obviously Osaka is going to be next because it is, next door. So what I did was I went ahead and tried to go to Nintendo Kyoto, back on that main street or whatever. That street, I went there. Actually, I went there. I was there a couple times. I went on that main street a couple of different times because there's a, you go up and down that main street, but then if you go to around specifically where Nintendo Kyoto is, there's a shopping mall or whatever they call that, a shopping street. The thing itself is a shopping street, right? I don't know what they call separate, if shopping street itself is a different thing than mall or whatever, but it's like a whole ass mall. So I did a whole ass loop one night through that whole thing, and there's some nice vibes out there. Oh, Shijodori, yes, it is Shijodori. Shijodori. I couldn't fucking remember that for the life of me. So, yes, Shijodori. But yeah, I tried to go to Nintendo Kyoto. That last time, but it was just too many people for me. Way too many people for my level of patience for that kind of thing. Which is why I didn't go to Fushimi during the daytime. That's why I waited until fucking night for that. So yeah, yep. End up going to my place in Osaka, which I found this on Airbnb, of course, like all the other places, and this place was more of a lie to me. The only thing I really knew about the place was it didn't have bidets for toilets, which was kind of that sucks because bidets are amazing. amazing, amazing. But it didn't have one, and you know, I'm fine with that because I don't have one at home. But the place itself, like the presence of the place, it's like a it's a hotel. So the place was called JP Metro, I think, JP Metro Hotel. But here's the thing, like in the listing, you know, because I got it in an Airbnb, the place, like, it's not listed as what it actually is. It's like listed as an apartment, and it's got, you know, roof access and blah 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 blah. Which, I mean, you know, those things are true. Like the room, like the room itself, was the biggest room that I had. The room, the room in Kyoto was fucking nice. Room in Tokyo, I mean, was nice but very small. Room in Kyoto, like I said, pretty nice. This room, the room itself was nice. It was big as fuck. It was like fucking at least twice as big as the next biggest room that I had. Like I said, the interior of the room was fucking nice. It had all the stuff. Like, you could definitely, like, live beyond, like, you know, little tiny Japanese standards. I mean, the other places I was at, I mean, the Kyoto place is probably bigger than a standard Japanese. I don't know. I mean, the bed, I think the bed was just too fucking big for the room. In Kyoto, the fucking bed was huge. In Tokyo, the place, you know, I mean, a little apartment building or whatever, small apartments, very small apartments. Small room, but fine. But, you know, you would expect that in Tokyo for, like, standard sized shit. So, like I said, you know, Osaka, this place was, I mean, this JP Hotel was fine, but like, even when I got to the place, like when I got there, I'm like, this place looks like it's like in a not great area. I'm guessing it's not a great area. I mean, but, you know, a not great area in Japan really isn't like, when you compare it to a not great area in the States, it's still a completely different level of like fucking, this is what's supposed to be shit. I mean, Roppongi is supposed to be a not great area, and there's a Ferrari dealership in there. So yeah. Anyway, the room, like I said, the room was amazing. It was just like the outside of the building itself, and then like the inside hall, or, you know, like the inside hall that you first step into, because there's like a fucking bar. You know, like next door there's a bike repair place, which I guess is not too out of, like, not too crazy, I guess, because it's just a dude repairing bikes, and, you know, a lot of people ride bikes in Japan. But, you know, like the hallway of the place, you got like a fucking bar and shit, which is crazy. And, you know, you hear these people doing all this loud ass karaoke. And like these women in like fucking party dresses hanging off of like these old men and stuff like that. It was like pretty crazy to see that shit. Pretty interesting as well. But Kyoto, or Osaka, ended up being my favorite place, because it's like it has all of the stuff that Tokyo has. It's like Tokyo, but like not as big and not as like super impersonal. Like, you know, I like big cities compared to small cities, because, you know, places that are small enough for everybody to know your business and your name and all that shit, I don't like that shit at all. But Tokyo is just very, I don't know, it's just like very impersonal. It's like the most impersonal city in the world, probably. But of course, it has it has things because it's in Japan or whatever. Even though it's Tokyo, it's big concrete jungle and all this stuff. You can still just walk down a random street and you're still gonna see, random like homely little temple just randomly sitting there. It's like, okay, all right, cool, excellent, great. So that that's cool. But yeah, Osaka, so in Osaka, I think the first thing I try to do was look for some retro games there. Ended up taking me to like I forgot what the first place was, but there were a lot of places around it as well. So it ended up being Dindan Town, which I didn't know anything about a Dindan Town or whatever, which is basically like how I said Osaka is just Tokyo, but just smaller. Dindan Town is Akiba, but smaller. Like literally the same fucking story. Yeah, you fucking animate, you got the trader, you got all that shit. All those same stores. You got the girls with the cosplay outfits trying to get you to go and do the drinks, the cosplay cafes or whatever the fuck it is. I've never done that stuff. I heard that Japanese people do it, and I'm sure a lot of foreigners do it as well, but I'm like, I'm not gonna overpay for something that just doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of like to me, that kind of stuff reminds me of the idea of going to Hooters. Like, you're going to probably get something, like, I care about how the food is. Like, what I'm going to be eating, that's what I want to pay for. That's what paying more money is for, like, to me. Is the food that I'm going to be consuming, like, good? That's why I've never gone to Hooters. Like, you're supposed to spend more at this place because these girls are wearing whatever the fuck they're wearing, and that's just the reason that you're supposed to pay more money for them to, like, fuck, that's stupid. I've never heard that the food was great, so therefore I'm not interested in going to Hooters. Same thing with the with the maid cafes. Like, I've only heard that stuff, like any of the stuff, a lot of themed things in Japan that cater to fucking, especially if it caters to vacationers, it's fucking garbage. So I'm not gonna pay money. I'm not gonna pay like a premium for it. Now I don't know, like the girl stuff. I think like I know that it's big with actual Japanese people. So the quality of what you're doing might not be that bad. Like the quality of the drinks that they're serving you might not actually be bad because it's a Japanese thing. But it may be, or just maybe not priced well for what you're getting. Just because girls. So nah. But anyway, yep. So yeah, I ended up going to Dindan Town, finding more stuff to buy, like more retro games and shit to buy. So I did that the first day. Really don't remember if I did anything else. I mean, I might have just driven around and went to some places, but nothing too memorable then. I think the next day was my birthday, and I'm glad I was in Osaka for that. Pretty amazing because Osaka ended up being my favorite fucking place. So, I was went to some little spot, grabbed some ramen, actually posted on Facebook because my birthday does not post on Facebook. I don't have it set. I actually don't even have my real birthday set on Facebook. But even the birthday that's on the profile is not set. But I posted up, I'm like, look, so I don't have my birthday set to pop up or anything like that on Facebook, but I am posting this because this is the first birthday that I'm in Japan for this birthday. which makes this birthday an actual birthday that I kind of give a fuck about. Because, you know, the important birthdays that people have, you know, when you're 16, you know, you can drive. If you didn't decide to do the prerequisites to drive at 16, you can at least drive when you're 18. So that one's important. And that was also when you're considered to be grown. So therefore, it's important for that reason as well. And then 16, also, that's important because that's when you can work. Now, however, 21 is important to some people because they can drink. Now, I've never drank, so I don't give a fuck about. I don't give a fuck about 21. I didn't give a fuck about 21 because I never drank. I mean, most people that drink before they were 21 anyway. But being 21 just meant that they could legally go buy the shit themselves. So that's why it's important to them. But you know, not important to me. Never has been. Never will be. You know, it is what it is. So, but I posted, I'm like, this birthday has a modicum of importance because I happen to be in fucking Japan for it. So, that is all. And then, happy birthday, man. Glad you enjoyed your trip out there, man. Well, thanks. I didn't post it. You know, I'm actually, yeah, I also said, like, I'm posting this just so it will pop up in my feed for, you know, possible future birthdays or whatever. So, yeah. Had some nice ramen from a little spot that night, which is what I posted in the video, or not the video, but the picture in the post or whatever. So, you know, that was nice. Walked around this little area, had a cool little time. Man, what else? I mean, so I was looking for this place. You know, I was looking for like more model cars and shit like that, more like Tomicas and shit like that, and also some more games. You know, I was also looking for like new games and retro games. But for new games, I wanted Metroidvanias. Like there's some physical copies of some Metroidvanias that we didn't get physical copies of in the US, and I'm like, man, I want physical copies of these games. I don't like fucking the digital shit. Hell, that sounds like I don't like fucking the digital shit. No, I don't like digital fucking games. That's why there's some games I have on console like PS5 or Series X that I could have on my PC with a 4090, but I'd rather have a disc and whatnot. So I have the game on console. But you know, it's whatever. But anyway, so yeah, I bought some stuff and I went out to man, what is this place called? It's the best mall that I've ever been to. The Namba City South building. It's a fucking shopping mall. And it is amazing. It is fucking amazing. You know, like the malls, you know, malls used to be all over the place in the fucking 80s and 90s. Well, you know, I can only remember as far back as the 80s and 90s, but I don't even think I was old enough to like go to malls in the 80s yet. Like my first memories of malls, maybe I don't fucking remember, but I know them. You know, the 90s, man. Like if I went to a city or anything, we were traveling to a city, I wanted to like go to one of their malls. Now, of course, after being a teenager or whatever, the reason I wanted to go to their malls was to see if they had an arcade, see if I could fight some new people in Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or whatever. I just want to fucking play people. I'm like, we're in this fucking place at this mall. They got a mall. They got a mall. We need to stop at this mall. Let's go. Let's do it. And then boom, playing people. So you know that was the move as a kid. But of course, you know, like in 2000s, when fucking all malls were done. But this Namba City building, fucking amazing. I went to this place called Adamski, and that shit was amazing as fuck. Had, you know, a bunch of like just random shit, like, you know, old games they had. They had a bunch of old ass games. They had a bunch of Tomica cars, a bunch of Hot Wheels. They had everything. They had fucking everything, and it was fucking great. Like, yes, I bought some shit there. Yeah, it was great. Then what else? Where else did I go? I don't know why I can't remember names of these places and stuff. It's like if I were on my computer right now, and I'm like just going, I could see, here's the thing, I could go through my photos, I could go through the photos from the trip, and obviously that would just jog my memory easily, like, oh, I did this on it. I could actually go day by day on some of this stuff. Like, I remember the first week in Tokyo day by day for some reason, probably because I didn't have a car for those couple days. Because, you know, it's like if you get a car, you just do whatever for the most part. So there was that. Yeah, there was the night that I went to Dotonbori. That was pretty cool. Going to see the famous Glico man. Got pictures of that. You know, and now I said that that spot in Kyoto was the most people that I'd seen packed into a fucking area until I got to Dotonbori. Then that took over. I'm like, whoa, how do I not get COVID out here in Japan? But somehow I didn't get it, or I still had immunity from when I did have it. But yes, Dotonbori, so many fucking people, so many human bodies. So many fucking human bodies all in one spot. So, you know, walked around there, did that whole thing. There was a shopping street, did that. That was pretty fucking cool. Then I was out in a spot like the next day. I was about to leave or whatever. Met a Chinese chick by chance who was, I started speaking to her in Chinese when I could hear what she was saying, and then she got excited, and, you know, yeah, she just got real excited and actually just started going turbo on me, and I couldn't. I'm like, all right, so that's too fast, but I'm like, I know you gotta, you gotta speak Chinese fast. Because as a matter of fact, there was a point where I did ask a girl something in Chinese, and she actually told me to say it faster. Like I knew how to say the words in like a full speed, but I didn't know that like you couldn't say it slower. I didn't know that you couldn't like fucking slow down the words, and it was like it messes everything up. I didn't know that was a thing until she said to like, you talk faster, just say it faster. Like, all right, okay. So then, yeah, but yeah, had an interesting conversation, and this girl was like down to meet the next day, do for the last week, because it's the end of Osaka's the end of the third week, so I got one more week. And I'm like, man, do I go to Hiroshima? Which I'm just like, man, that's 7.5 hours one way. So that means if I go to Hiroshima, I do have to drive 13 hours back to fucking Tokyo to leave. So I'm not. I'm just gonna go back to Tokyo for that last week. But I'd already added an extra day to Osaka because I fucking enjoyed everything there. And then linking up with this girl and her wanting to like meet back up specifically the next day, the Chinese girl. I was ready to fucking do it again, like to just stay in Osaka again for that, but I wanted to get the trip out of the way, and like I would have been basically paying for 2 rooms on the same day. I mean, that amount of money actually wouldn't have even mattered or whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever. But I'm like, yeah, I just want to get the trip out of the way while I'm in the mood. Now that last extra day, I was actually supposed to meet somebody that was from here. That happened to be in Osaka at the same time as me. And then he was actually leaving to Tokyo. We're going to meet before he left to Tokyo. He was leaving to Tokyo at whatever time of the day it was. And then I was going to be doing the same thing a little bit later in the day. So we didn't end up meeting. Not that day. So, but I ended up leaving my place. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna go back to Tokyo. But I make a trip out to Nara, to see the deer and everything. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to the deer, go see the deer, and so on and so forth. And it's a good time. Like I didn't get too close because I realized like these are wild deer and everything. And I'm like fucking bugs and they got stuff around them. Like I don't want to get bit by whatever the fuck's on these deer. So I buy the crackers from the guy or whatever that you can feed them. And I'm like, yeah, you can come up to me and like I'll feed you the deer. I'll feed you the deer. I'll feed you the crackers and like that's as much. Like I'm not gonna like pet you and all this other stuff. So I did that. Got to go to Nara, see that, and then I went back. It took me a scenic route. I made a stop because I saw an amazing little fucking spot that was great. It was nice. And then I finished the trip. So the way back, because of the the change and whatever, was it took 6 hours to come back to Tokyo. So, and I ended up back at the same place. Now this time, I was on Booking, so all the first place in Tokyo that I had before I came, and then the places I ended up finding while I was there for Kyoto and Osaka, those were all done on Airbnb. But then I went on Booking and ended up actually going to the same place that I was in before in Tokyo. A different room though. This time I was on the floor. I was on the bottom floor, which was much better to be on. And it had a different bed. It had a much better fucking bed situation. I mean, the room was like set up the same, but it just had a different bed that I preferred. So, good times. But yeah, I came back to Tokyo. I was gonna meet up with with my buddy from here, but it was pretty late, and he's not driving. I mean, I could have drove him back because I'm driving. It's like, all right, well, you don't have to worry about the trains and all that stuff, because that's the main concern that people have when they are driving is the trains. You got to worry about that. Luckily, I don't. But after the drive, I really didn't feel like doing anything anyway. So all I did was anything else specific I did the second time back to Tokyo, except like the first few days back. I met with him in Akiba. You know, we walked and talked. I was actually looking for some books. So the second time back in, I think I started getting a couple mangas when I was in Osaka, because they had this fucking crazy store that just had a bunch of shit. And you know, I mean, manga over there is fucking cheap as fuck. But they had this fucking shit that was, they had a bunch of shit, so I'm like, I guess I could get a couple of these manga that I had been wanting anyway. So I started doing that in Osaka. And then there's a manga store. Well, I mean, there's, you know, a lot of manga stores in Akiba, so I found the last few of these, of this one series that I'd been reading scans of. You know, I did get a couple different series, but this main one, because I actually had to come back on the last day, the last full day, because I left on the Saturday, so I had to come back on that Friday. Or no, did I have to come back on the Saturday, like very early or something? It was some shit like that, because the last like the next volume, you know, I bought, like, it was volume 8 and 9 or something like that. I found like all the volumes from, you know, even though I already read them, scanned them, like I want them physically. So yeah, I bought like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, 1 through fucking 9 that I was able to find, and then was it Jukan was coming out like the day before I was leaving or something like that. So yeah, I was actually looking for those books, but it was actually too late, because I mean, most of the places in Akiba fucking closed pretty fucking early. Now in Osaka, that fucking Geo store, that shit closed like fucking late as fuck. I bought a lot of shit there too. But yeah, most of the bookstores and shit closed like fucking 8 or 9 or something like that. So it was too late for me to get anything. So we just walked and talked about stuff or whatever, which, you know, it's pretty cool to actually just like see somebody in Japan. You're that far away, and you just see somebody that you know, you just happen to be at the same time. And technically, I mean, we were in Osaka at the same time, and now we're in Tokyo at the same time. It just happened to be that way. So that was pretty cool. But then, you know, I'm like debating, you know, there's this other car I want to rent. And so, you know, I rent cars and stuff. I rent like sports cars as well as these regular cars or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I want to rent another car before I leave as well. And, you know, something about the S660. And it's funny because like we were literally walking past one that was just parked there. I'm like, that's what I want to rent. That little fucking thing right there. Yeah, that's pretty small. Yeah, you know, but I kind of want to rent that. I want to see how that's like, because some, you know, we don't get that here. We don't get that at home. But yeah, I ended up doing that. So I don't remember if it was a day, like how many. It might have been another couple days, because yeah, I don't remember anything that I did specifically. But you know, I rented the car. Now this time, I didn't take my car back. So what I did, you know, the first time that I went to Japan and I had the regular car rental, and then I went to get the car from Omoshiro, you know, I took the car, you know, I took the car back, and then I took the train to go rent the Omoshiro car, the Evo 6, and then I, you know, rented another car afterwards, which was a lot of fucking, like, more problems than it should have been. However, this time I'm like, you know what? I actually emailed them before I rented the car. I'm like, can't I just like take my car to your lot and just like leave it there? And like, yeah, we got customer parking. You just leave the fucking car there. So I'm like, oh, lesson learned from the last time. So, you know, I took the S660 I rented that because it was easy to rent. I was actually trying to get another Skyline or whatever, but that's when it, you really can't get those on short notice at all whatsoever. So I'm like, the only other thing I'm really interested in is the S660 because it's the most unique car. Because everything else, everything else is shit that we already get here. Like, WRX is fucking 370Zs, 350Zs, shit like that. Like, we already have that shit. Like, so it's like, the JDM version of it is not really interesting to me. Like, it's right-hand drive, but it's the same fucking car. So, like, nah. I'm not gonna rent a Fairlady Z. Because it's not unique. And it's not something that I would even really consider buying over here. Like, if I wanted one of those, I would just have the American version of it, which I don't. Now, something like an S660, that's something that I do want, and I can't have it. Right? So therefore it kind of makes sense to rent that because you can't have it otherwise. So, but anyway, so I had I had the ECT card. I rented the ECT card with the Nissan because, pretty much when I got the second Nissan, when I turned the first one in and then I got the other one, I got it until the last fucking day. I'm like, oh, gotta get it until the last day. Fuck this. And, of course I took the ECT card with it so I didn't have to fucking stop every time at, at a toll booth. So, I actually just, I pulled the ECT card out of the Nissan, out of the Rooks, and put it in the in the S660. Just continued about my way. So, that was made it a little easier. Got to leave the car there. Didn't have to worry about like taking that car back or any dumb shit. I brought the car back to town. I drove through Akiba a little bit. I think, I took that to Akiba. Like I did with the Skyline, I just drove it around, and then I went back to the room for a little bit, and then later on at night, I took it back out on the Shudo Express, just like I did with the Skyline. But that car, I was more confident with, getting on it a little more. Like, you can hear in the video, so, there's videos of me driving it, like, back then, just with that and the Skyline. But, you'll hear me getting on the S660, and, that car sounds amazing because it's 3 cylinders, so it sounds, it has the same timbre as an inline 6. Inline 3, inline 6, VR6, V12, there's this kind of sound that they have, right? But anyway, so, I took that thing out on the Shudo. Of course, I went out there to Daikoku with it as well. Had an amazing time. It was even more fun than driving the Skyline. Because the Skyline, just because what it is, I'm like, I feel like this shit's going to break if I, try to do too much. Because I know I got on it one time. I feel like I only went to, 5,000. It was one time I'm like, and, that shit just, hit a cut or something. It was not at 8,000 RPM. I'm like, well, there goes that. So then I drove it regularly for the rest of the time, pretty much. I don't know, I'm just paranoid about having, major problems with one of their cars. At least the old fun cars. I'm like, if I owned it, that's a different fucking story. If I, I owned the Evo 6, I'm like, I'll tow it to wherever I fucking tow it, and then I'll get it fixed in due course. I don't have to just, oh well, man, now I'm responsible for thousands of dollars immediately at this point. Even if I have it and it's fine, it's I still don't want to have to do it right now. That's why I have multiple cars. So if something breaks, I can kind of do whatever the fuck I want to do. if somehow, the my Evo 10 is being built, well, I don't know if it's being built right now, but the fucking shit's been paid for at this fucking shop. And, speed shops are speed shops. So whatever amount of time they give you, and this one was adamant of not giving time. I'm like, man, I really don't want to do this at all, but we gotta get this fucking shit done, right? But, here's the thing. If my Mustang, the other fun car, if it fucking blows up while this Evo's getting fixed, either way, the Evo's getting fixed because it's fucking already been paid for. And I got an Evo I'll have an Evo to drive. But, even then, I don't have to do anything to these cars because, I don't have to pay anything on these cars. They're fucking paid off, and that means I can just buy another fucking car. And then I can fix those cars at my leisure. Now, buying like a brand new car or some shit like that, like, oh, I'm kind of, or just buying like a whole nother like expensive car, like, oh, I've been buying that Evo 6, fucking $30,000, or Skyline GTR R33 55. Maybe not doing something like that would be ideal, but like just get something else that's like, maybe I don't know, what the fuck's a fun 20? That's the problem, man. Like, I don't even know what a fun $20,000 car is, or less at this point, because I just feel like they're not going to be like fast enough to be Miata, an Indy. I just buy a fucking Indy. Like if my cars fuck up, if they both fuck up, I can buy an Indy. Because that's a completely different kind of car than any of the ones I got. Right? There you go. Fucking Indy. However, if I'm driving, Omoshiro's 30-year-old cars and they break, I don't have that fucking same, confidence. Like, well, I can resolve this situation in a number of ways. I can only resolve it in one way, and that's just to pay whatever their non-operational fee is. I don't remember what it is, but I know it ends up being a couple $1,000. And while, I go to Japan in a situation where a couple $1,000 isn't gonna like fucking break me. Like if I had to worry about something like that, like if I had to worry about it, I wouldn't want to go, but I don't want to have to worry about it. Just because, I'm the one driving that fucking old ass piece of shit when it decides to just let go randomly. Especially if I've been driving it kind of like a bitch, like this. And like, man, I didn't even get fun. I didn't even get to have the fun in it, and then it blew up while I was driving it. Fuck this. So yeah. But anyway, I was a lot more confident in, like revving that S660 out, just 75. And of course, all that noise, and I wasn't going anywhere, but whatever. Still a good time. But yeah, so I went out, and then, so I ended that night out in Shinjuku as well, just like when I had the R33, trying to see if I could make anything happen. Did not happen. I moved down to Kabukicho, and then I was not only fucking approached by Africans, but also fucking Chinese girls as well. And however, what was weird, oh man, I forgot about Osaka. There was something I forgot, fucking Shinsekai. Oh man, that was a crazy night in Shinsekai, where the Hitachi Tower is at in Osaka. Man, so I got the fucking runs there. I got the fucking runs. I had to fucking basically jog to a public restroom, and I was so far away from it, I did not know if I was going to make it. And, I finally get to one, and it is the grossest, nastiest. Japan is known for how clean everything is. I'm like, all the public restrooms that I had ever been in fucking amazingly clean. I mean, shit was amazing. Even in places like Daikoku Fudo. I mean, that's it's like, man, you could, I mean, of course I still wouldn't, but it's like, you look at it like, man, you could eat off of that if you really wanted to. But, you know, of course that's, yeah. But, you know, so anyway, in Shinsekai, this fucking public restroom, this one public restroom, the fucking nastiest shit, and it was the old style, the old Japanese style fucking toilet where you had to fucking squat over it. So, you know, it's like, man, I got these clothes on. I gotta take all my shit off. Like, I'm naked in this stall because since I gotta fucking squat over this toilet, and I got a shit so bad that I know that this is fucking explosive diarrhea. Like, it's not getting back up on my clothes. So I take everything off, and I'm like, you know, I gotta like hook it on the whatever the fuck I found, and I'm like, oh man, it's just so gross in this motherfucker. Like, I didn't know that there was such thing as a gross restroom in Japan, but apparently I found the one. And not only that, like I said, the fucking squat toilet. So yeah, I had this explosive diarrhea in that fucker, and that was a fucking fun time. But yeah, then you know, then I ended up going back to the room after that. Finished my time in Shinsekai, and then that was it. So yeah, but yeah, back to the present. What is now the present? Yeah, so I got the S660. I've gone to Shinjuku, try to see what's going on, and then I've gone down to Kabukicho, where I'm being approached by Africans, just like in Roppongi, but now also, in addition, Chinese girls. So the thing is, they were pretending to be Japanese. They were speaking in Japanese, which was interesting. And, you know, I'm just, okay, whatever. But, you know, they're trying to get me to go with them. But, you know, and they're just like the African guys. You know, the African guys are, and we got girls, man. We got girls, just like they were in Roppongi. So I'm like, nah, I'm good, guy. But then the girls also do the same thing, but they act a little differently because they're girls. They try to intertwine their arms with you and try to like walk to lead you, you know, like to wherever they're trying to get you to go. But I'm like, no. I'm like, nah, I'm definitely not going. Like, nah, this is not how, we're not doing this. And, you know, like, so, you know, the girl, you know, she's talking in Japanese to me initially, and then you know, like another girl comes up to her and talks to her in Chinese, in Mandarin, and then she's talking to the girl in Chinese, and I'm like, so then I ask her in Chinese, like, oh, so you're Chinese? And then all like her response to that is, oh, so you've been to Taiwan before? That's good. And then continues to speak in Japanese. I'm like, that's a weird response. That, you know, like, you just spoke Chinese, just spoke Mandarin to that girl, and then I asked you a question in Mandarin, and you responded by asking me if I've been to Taiwan. I'm like, that is fucking weird. So, I'm just trying to, but, I'm not interested in, what they're selling, because they're definitely selling it. So I'm like, if they want to pretend to be Japanese, I guess I'll answer in Japanese that I'm not interested. And then the Africans is picking up on you as well, and they're like, hey man, those girls, they're not Japanese, man. They're not Japanese. I got Japanese girls. I'm like, I know they're not Japanese because I was just fucking speaking Mandarin with her, and she knew fucking Mandarin. So, but that's beside the point. I'm not interested in, like, I'm sure that if he's offering girls, they're probably the same fucking thing. Like, they're probably Chinese or Taiwanese that are pretending to be Japanese. Because, I'm sure that, like, if you consider most of whatever, amount of Japanese that, a random person might know, I'm like, those girls probably know enough to get by and sound good enough to speak. But, I would think that anybody that knows Japanese is going to know that when somebody's speaking something that's not Japanese. So, it was just weird to me that, like, they just went with the Japanese, or with the Japanese thing, the pretending to be Japanese. But yeah, I really didn't like that, like holding on to your arm, like trying to get you to come with them. I'm like, nah, you're not gonna drug me and fucking take my money. That's just not how this works. But it's funny, man. You get on like Reddit and you'll see like a post where somebody else talking about that happened. Oh, we went to this place, we had a drink, and then the next thing I knew, I was in a fucking, I'm like, fucking idiot. I'm like, you meet like a normal fucking, like you meet a normal girl under normal circumstances, that's a whole different thing. But anything else, I mean, even then, it's just like, I don't know. But, it was cool seeing the Ichibangai gate, the Kabukicho Ichibangai. But, that was enough. I'm actually, at this point, I'm trying to, like, I'm walking around, but I'm, like, avoiding where the fucking African dudes are at and the Chinese girls and shit. Or, what's the place? Taiwanese. So, I'm like, all right. But, I end my day. And I think that's like not the last day, but like, I think what I had like two more days after that or something like that. So, the next day, that's when I started at 660, so I'd take that back. And then, that was still that was my like last full day. Like the day I took the S660 back was my last full day, so I think I took that back. And then, and that's when I went to go, man, what did I do? Man, yeah. I don't remember what I did that day beside taking that S660 back. Now I know later on that night. So in that night I went to Haneda. I actually took my stuff to Haneda. Went to the there's a desk by the ANA terminal or whatever, where they'll hold your shit for you for whatever amount. I think like 1,400 yen. So I actually just, since I had to take the car back, take the car back. Yeah, that day. So I had to take the car back on the Saturday or whatever. And I think that's also when the last book came out. So I ended up buying what was the shit called? Ore no Tamadachi ga kawatsukute komaru. So end up buying all like the first 9 that were available, and then that last one was coming out like the day that I was leaving. So I had to like get to Akiba very early. That day or something like that. So, but yeah, that night, that last full night of being there, I took I took all my shit to Haneda. You know, I got it all packed up, took it to Haneda. I went to like a McDonald's somewhere in Oda City at like 2 in the morning after I dropped the shit off, and then went back out to hang out. Went back out to Shinjuku. Nothing really going on that day. Kind of same thing as like the previous night. I'm like, well, I'll go out to Shinjuku, and then I'll hit up Kabukicho as well. So I'm actually parked on this main street. Yeah. So that's the McDonald's I went to, the one that's out there by Kabukicho or whatever, the one that's like across from the station. The downstairs is like very tiny, and you eat on the second and third floors or whatever. Only like 2 or 3 people can fit in the downstairs where you order food. But yeah, so I went back up there, went to through that Okubo Park. You see those girls and stuff like that look like they are trying to sell some things, but they're not the same ones. Like they're not the Chinese ones or whatever. So that was interesting, but I wasn't partaking in anything like that as well. So just whatever, just a browse, just see what the fuck's going on, and then went back to the room for that last night. Went to sleep. Then I got up. Yeah, went to Akiba first thing in the morning. So yeah, I did some shopping that last night that I went to Haneda. I actually did some shopping before I went to Haneda. I went to Donkey. I went to a couple different Donkeys before I went to Haneda. Filled up my extra suitcase that I brought. It was packed inside the other suitcase on the way there, but I had the allowance for 2 checked bags. So obviously on the way back, I filled up the second suitcase, and that was my second checked bag. So filled that thing up with a lot of shit. Yeah, that Saturday morning, because I was leaving like in the early afternoon or something like that. I had to take the car back, so I went to Akiba. I bought that book, and actually bought this another book that I wasn't gonna buy it. I'm like, whatever. But I'm like, you know what? I'm here right now. I'm here. I'm here. Manga, like even brand new manga, are fucking cheap as fuck here. So I'll just buy this shit anyway. So I just bought it, as well as that fucking edition. I'm lucky because when something comes out, I don't know, is it gonna be there like right when the place opens up, or is it like some shit that's gonna arrive later in the day? But it happened to already be there. Like I didn't even have to look for it. I didn't have to ask the guy where the shit's at. I just looked, found it. I'm like, oh, they already got it out. Good, purchase. Bought the other thing. Then I left. And then I took the car back to where it went, back to Ikebukuro. And, instead of catching a train to Haneda, because I had to make that flight, I went ahead and just got a cab. I'm like, all right, we'll get a cab from here to there. So I just got a cab to the Terminal 3, I believe it was. I picked my stuff up that I dropped off, earlier in the morning. And, it was time to leave. So that was pretty much how Japan went. Osaka's my favorite fucking place on the planet now. On one of my cars, that's actually my vanity plate, is Osaka. So, yep. But yeah, some pretty amazing times, and it's like I almost can't wait to go back, but I kind of don't want to go there that long. Like I already have a solid month off as well this year, and I thought about going back, but I'm not really going to go back to Japan until I can take the Mustang. But I can't take the Mustang until the Evo's done, because the Mustang has to ship out 3 months before. Mustang has to ship out at least 3 months before I arrive, and it will be there, and it will take 3 months, after I'm back, for it to come back. So I cannot, I can't do it that way, and like the car has to already be done, because I want to, I don't want to drive other people's cars, like the fun cars. Because the thing is with those cars, with those Omoshiro cars, is that the cars that are going to be interesting to drive. S660, that's an interesting car to drive. I could drive that the whole time that I was in Japan, but I kind of wouldn't want to drive that the whole time I'm in Japan. Just, it's fun to drive, but you can't store anything in it. So if I'm just going to drive between cities like I did with the van, like that's just not gonna work with me having, enough stuff to last throughout that time. Like if I had like one bag or something like that, it's a different story, it'd work. But not with enough shit to do a whole month again. And then, and like I said, they're cars that I would be comfortable with, like, the newer cars and like stuff like that. It's just cars that are not going to be interesting. Like, they got like what Skyline 400R or whatever, which is Q60 sedan is what we have it as, Infinity. Like I'm not interested in that car. We don't have that version of it, but like it's still not a car I'm interested in regardless of what it is, where it's at. Like I said about like, 370Zs, 350Zs, FRSs, Miatas. Now, I would buy an ND as a fucking thing to drive, but if I'm in a situation where there's, it's not an interesting car, I would just buy it because I have an all-wheel drive sedan in the Evo, and I have a rear-wheel drive V8 Mustang that is a coupe. I do not have a convertible. I have not had a convertible since, I owned a Miata and a NA and an S2000 at the same time. And that, I haven't had, the S2000 was the last one that I kept. I haven't had that since 2016. That's fucking 8 years since I had one. So, an ND would be like interesting for me to own, but not interesting for me to drive if given a chance. It's like, I'd own it, but like I wouldn't drive it over some other choices. So that's the problem. That's just a problem. That's a me problem, but it is a problem with those cars. Anything that's going to be interesting, like the Skylines and shit like that, Supras, whatever else like that. I'm just not going to be like completely confident in those cars. I'd feel better if they were mine. But this Mustang, I trust it to drive everywhere that I want it to drive without any problems. Now, it could be a problem where, the fucking thing gets fucked up in shipping. That would suck. Come, get it out, and then it's like, oh man, it got a fucking dent. But, it is. I would take that chance, and I would hope that whoever I deal with is not fucking that much of a scumbag to like fuck my shit up. But whatever. So that's kind of it. That's where we're at now. I don't know what I want to do. Like I said, if if I was not doing a solo trip, I would fucking definitely want to go with my car. Now, it might not be as important for me to do a solo trip if I had somebody else to go with, because some things would be different. Like, you know, if I have somebody to talk with on the trip, like during the, like during the drives, the long drives or whatever between these big cities, that's a different story. But, you know, if that's not going to be the case, I need to have my fucking car to at least make it fun. And, you know, when people are freaking out, you know, like I said, a lot of reactions when I was driving the S660 and even the Skyline and even the S660. People were like, huh? But you know, those still not my car. So, and as a car person, you know, there's some pride. There's a pride thing as well. Like if people freaking out, because I mean, S550 Mustangs, they are an amazing fucking car. What the car that you get for the money that you pay, it's fucking amazing. So there's a ton of people that have them. It's a very common fucking car. But yet, even here where there's tons of them, everybody's, oh man, that's an amazing car. It sounds great. I mean, you know, there's plenty of YouTube clips. I mean, my shit's not stock. Nowhere near. But it's still a common car that gets reactions like that. So imagine if I'm driving this in Japan and they see it has an American plate on it. So they know that it's not like some local, you know what I mean? And I get out and it's like, huh? You know, it's just going to feel completely different. It's you know, so yeah, it's, I don't know. But that was Japan 2023. Like I said, 2024, I already have the time off that I can do 2024. But if I was going to do that, I probably need to like buy these tickets like right now. But like I said, I don't think I'm going to do it because I want my fucking car with me. And with the Evo not being done, I cannot have a fun car to drive unless I like buy some other shit on the side, which would probably be an ND. So, yep, that'll be it. Bye for now.